Hey guys, welcome back to Boho Jewel. I'm Sandra. I wanted to share with you today how to make these super cute little scrubbies. So they're kind of like, I guess, for stainless steel or for cast iron skillets. You can use them. They've got these little handles on the back if you want to add a handle on the back to kind of scrub your pots and pans. You've got the little leaf details, which is super cute. And they're just these little roses. And I'm actually going to make one for my daughter to decorate her room with. She wanted to do that. So I found this pattern, I think it was at Michael's. I'm not sure. It was either Michael's or Hobby Lobby. But I found the pattern. And again, they've got a bunch of cute projects inside. But I always struggle to interpret these. So I end up doing my own little notes. And just in how it makes sense to me. And personally, I find it's always easier to watch somebody do something like this than to read through the patterns. So that's why I like to do these videos to share with you guys. So the yarn that I used, that it calls for, is the Scrubology yarn by Yarn Bee. And this one is the yellow, this one is the bright pink. I'm not sure where my bright pink is. It's disappeared. But there's the yellow, and this is the green that I used for the leaves on these. And I will post that in the description below, the yarn, in case you want to order it, because I know we're not getting out very much right now. But it's this nice scrubby material. But I'm actually going to do the demonstration with just a plain color purple yarn because you'll see, I'm going to show you, and I'm going to give you a couple of little tips on using this yarn that I learned. It's really hard to see the details with this. So it calls for a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. These are my absolute favorite crochet hooks ever. They're super comfortable. It's all one piece, so the little, it doesn't slide off. The little rubber part doesn't slide off. But I'm going to show you guys how this yarn works. So when you're at home and you can take your time with it, you know, you'll just kind of have to play with it a little bit. But you can see how it's very knotty, right? And once you get it knotted, it knots up. So if you pull too hard, right, like I'm doing right now, it's not going to want to go anywhere. So it can kind of create some problems. So you definitely don't want to tug on it too hard. And if you make a mistake and have to pull it out, I realized that that can be easier said than done as well. So definitely take your time when you're using this. Okay, but I'm going to show you just why I don't want to use this as a demonstration for the pattern, because I feel like when you're sitting at home and you can take your time with it and figure it out, and you can find all the little loopholes, that's great, but they can be really hard to see on this on a video. So when you're counting and you have to find, because it looks so scraggly, and you have to find the little holes, right, to go into the next one. So that's why I'm going to do the demonstration with this other yarn. But it's really cute. It's kind of soft. I haven't used these yet because they're just really cute and pretty. So we'll see. I'll try them and use them. So I've already started a chain over here just to save a little time. So I'm using my 5.5, and you just create a chain of 36. So let me grab my notes. So you do a chain of 36, okay? So you've chained all the way up here. And now I'm going to double crochet in the third stitch from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, we're going to do a double crochet, which is yarn over, put it through that loop, yarn over, pull through the first two, and then pull through the second two. And that's your double crochet. So that's in the third stitch from the hook. Then I'm going to skip the next two stitches. So skip 1, 2, go into the third one and do a double crochet. Again, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through. Okay, so now at this point, I'm going to chain 2. 1, 2. Okay, and then I'm going to double crochet into the same space that I was just in. So I've chained 2, but I'm going to pull over and do a double crochet. Okay, So now this is what we're going to repeat to the end of the chain. So you have your starter chain here, and then we're going to repeat this to the end. And this is probably going to be kind of a long video because I wanted to take some time and show this to you guys, so bear with me. So now what we're going to repeat to the end, we're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and we're going to double crochet into the 3rd stitch. And don't hold it too tightly, okay? And then we're going to chain 2 and double crochet again into that stitch. Okay? Skip 1, 2, double crochet into the 3rd space, chain 2, 1, 2, and double crochet again into that same space. Just like that. Okay, so what it's doing, it creates a curve already. So your initial instinct usually is to like chain 2 and then skip the spaces, but what this is doing is it's creating these little V shapes, sort of, right? And it's starting to create a curve already. So we're going to do the same thing. So skip 1, 2, find that 3rd stitch, the next 3rd stitch, double crochet, chain 2, and then double crochet back into the same space. 1, 2, 3, double crochet in, chain 2, and double crochet back into that space. Okay, 1, 2, 3, up. 1, 2, 3. That's what I get for trying to be speedy and get ahead of myself. So double crochet, chain 2, double crochet back into the same space. 1, 2, 3. Chain 2 and into the same space. So once you kind of get your head around that initial setup and like kind of don't follow your instinct about doing the chain 2 before you skip the spaces, it kind of makes sense and you kind of get into the groove of it. But it starts to create a curve, which is what you're wanting for your rows to be able to curve around. So 1, where are you? 1, 2. And we do that all the way to the end. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And you don't want to hold it too tight because you don't want to, you just don't want to make it too tight of a pattern. You've got plenty, it'll have plenty of natural curl to it that you don't have to worry about that. Into that last space there. If you pull too tight on your crochet work, it'll make it more difficult to work with. So we've got that last double crochet in the last stitch right there. So we're going to leave that alone. We're not going to do any extra right there. So now what we're going to do, instead of putting a second double crochet in that last chain, chain 2 and turn your work. Okay. So now we're going to be working in the spaces. So you can see how that it's creating kind of a curl on itself. So now we've turned our work. We're going to double crochet in the chain 2 space. Okay, so the little space in between where we've been working. So see, these are our chain 2 spaces that we've created in that one space. So we're just going to be working in the spaces. So double crochet into that first space. And then we're going to double crochet into the next space. Chain 2, and then double crochet into that space again. Okay, so It's basically the same pattern as we did on the first row. So double crochet into the space, chain 2, and double crochet back into the space. Just like that. So we're creating a second row of that, okay? All the way to the end. Whoops, wrapping around too much. Got distracted checking my notes. So double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet into each space. One, two, and then double crochet into the space. So you're creating kind of a second row of those, but you're ending up with a few more because we're going into every single space right here. I totally distracted myself talking. I'm not sure how many I did right there. Sorry guys. Okay, so double crochet, chain 2, and then double crochet into every single space. There's our space. All right. So I thought I would try to start uploading a few more videos during this time. We're all kind of stuck at home. My daughter's working on her schoolwork right now, so I thought it'd be a good time for me to come up here and do this. And then I was going through my bin of art projects that I had organized for last year's summer camps and things, and I was like, what do I have that I could share with people to kind of help them keep busy with their kids, and what can I help share with people now so that they can keep busy. So I'm gonna kind of go through my bag of tricks, as they say, and I will try to post more videos over the next few weeks. Try to keep us all crafty and busy and entertained a little bit. It's my little way of helping and my way of staying sane as well. I'm not usually a stay-at-home kind of person, even though for years I did work my handmade business from home, and but you know, it's still involved. Like, I was at home a lot, but I still took my daughter to school, and I still did craft shows and farmers market every Saturday, so I was still out of the house and working, you know. So this whole thing with being so isolated from people is it's very challenging, and I know not just for me but for everybody right now. I think even introverted people are starting to feel very very in need of human contact. So you guys let me know in the comments below too, like, how are you staying busy during this time? And did I do two? Yeah. How are you staying busy during this time? What kind of crafts are you working on? What kind of projects? Yeah, just let me know what you're up to, or anything you'd like to see me do. If there's any kind of projects that you'd like to see me try as far as crochet or anything, I've got a ton of yarn over here that I'm trying to figure out how to get creative with. So I'm always curious, always ready to share. All right, so we're close to the end. Chain 2, double crochet, and we're going into this last space with our double crochet, chain 2, and double crochet. Is that up? There's one more little space there. But I think that's where we stop. We stop there. We're not going to go. So we're going to stop just right here in this space. So I finished my last double crochet. And now I have to flip my notes. For the third row, which is the last row, okay, we're going to chain 2, turn our work, and you see how it's starting to curl really pretty. So it gives you that natural curl to make your rows. So now we're going to do 5 double crochets in the chain 2 space. So right here in this space we're going to do 5 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just like that. Okay. And then in the next chain, so the first one is always a little different. Okay. So now in the next chain 2 space, we're going to do 6 double crochets. This is where it gets real. So right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Just like that. So that seems like a lot, and what you'll notice is when you start trying to work around these, let me get a little more yarn, that your yarn's going to want to start getting hung up because you're putting a lot of stitches in those small spaces, okay? So on this one, I'm not going to do it in every single space. I'm trying to remember how I did. Maybe I did put it in every single space. I think I did. Yes. So you're actually, yes, forget that I said that. You're going to put this in every space because then you see how it starts to curl. So we're going to go down the row and do that. 6 in every space. And so this is where it's really important to keep your yarn kind of loose. So this is not where you want to put a death grip on anything. If you start pulling really tightly on your materials, 3, you're going to be fighting against yourself. So you can see also where it kind of wants to turn on me like that, and that's what I mean. So like I'm going to slow it down for you guys in the next one. I'm trying to go a little bit quickly so that I'm not taking up too much of your time. So we're going to go in the next space. So 1, 2. You see how it wants to start to curl under, and where you have to kind of pull it and really work it around, right? Because you're really pushing that yarn through all of that other material. Okay, how many was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you're holding everything super tight and trying to hold on to it for dear life, you're going to end up, I don't know if I can pull it really tight. So if you pull it really tight, you're not giving yourself any room to work with, and it's going to be really hard to get around everything. So this is where just kind of loosening up a little, that was a little too loose, just loosening up a little, relaxing into it. I find kind of just getting into the rhythm of it. 3, 4, 5. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Trying to do this and talk at the same time doesn't work for me. So just try to kind of get into the rhythm of it, but you can see where it wants to start curling around, and it looks really pretty with this yarn. And that gives you those pretty ruffles around the edges, right? So let's get this finished up. 1, 2. And I'm thinking, whoops, pulled a little there. I'm thinking of trying to make a few smaller ones even, like doing just a few smaller roses, just for decoration. I mean, that was my daughter wanted to just, she's changed up her room during this time at home. We went through and organized everything. Oh, that's where some broken yarn was, apparently. Pull that through. Well, in theory. Nip that off in a little while. So she's wanting to redecorate a little bit and do some new things. So I was trying to show her how to do this, and she got very frustrated with the crochet. I think I remember being her age and my grandma trying to teach me crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it didn't go well. I mean, I remember I could always do like a really great chain, and I was super excited about that. But, you know, so it was just, yeah. I don't know, how old were you guys when you started crocheting? Because I think I was right around my daughter's age. I think it was like 9 or maybe 10, and we were visiting my grandma in Germany, and she was showing me how to do the chain, and I just remember at that time what I always think about, 3, 4, 5... Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What I think about when I tell you guys not to hold it too tightly, like that was my downfall. Like I always had a death grip on the crochet yarn and the crochet hook, and my grandma was always like, just loosen it up. It doesn't have to be so tight. So, yeah. But then it wasn't until years later, like just a few years ago, where I started picking it back up again and started making things. And I started with my little dishcloths and just kind of went from there, experimenting around with some different things. I like to make things that are useful, which, I mean, I guess anything that you make is useful in some way, even if it's decorative. Decorative things have their use and their purpose too. But yeah, the dishcloths, I'm hooked on those. Like I just made some new ones for myself because all of the ones I had were starting to wear out. And I use the really worn out ones, like after I've been using them for a few years and washing them and using them and washing them and using them. I use them as cleaning rags, you guys, and they still, so, you know, rather than just throw them away right away, like I use them as cleaning rags so that they still have some purpose. Less on the landfill, right? Which they're 100% cotton and they're biodegradable too, so that's a good thing. Okay, 3. And people love them. People love them. I love them. They're so much better than the flimsy store-bought ones. But I feel like there's a comeback to crochet work and yarn work and needlepoint and all kinds of things. I've seen a lot of people starting with quilting now, which I have not tried. That is not in my skill set yet. So I think there is a, I think there's kind of a, what is that called? Like, you know, every trend comes back, everything comes back, and I think people are starting to get more excited about handmade things. I think that's been happening for a while. And people are having the understanding that handmade items are beautiful and they're special. And there's something really exciting about someone making something for you, or knowing that you have something that someone spent time and energy in creating. And I mean, personally, I try to buy just about everything handmade. So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to skip over a few of these for you guys because I don't have a fancy app that allows me to edit stuff. And I don't want to stop the video because then it will just end up in chunks. 2, 3, 4. I might just cheat on this a little bit and skip just a couple of the loops, but you get the idea. That way I can show you guys how to finish this and you can be on your way to making one. Or you can hang out with me and watch the video again. I know I've been super chatty. See, I'm telling you, it's time for me to start getting out more. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to skip a couple of these, and you still get a nice effect even skipping a few of them. Okay. And yeah, I've tried a few editing apps that I did not love. They did not do what I wanted them to do. They were tricky. So I'm trying to find a good editing app that is not ridiculously expensive and costly. So if you have any suggestions for that, please let me know. Okay, we're getting close, guys. We're getting close. So I'm going to skip a couple of the loops and we'll get the same, we'll still get a pretty effect. Again, just doing that to kind of save a little time so you're not watching me crochet and falling asleep for 20 minutes. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Okay, just a couple more. But you can really see how this is totally curling up now, which is just very pretty in itself. And again, that's from, you know, not using those chain 2 spaces. So it's like instead of chaining 2 and doing a space, when you do that, you end up with a nice even line, and this way it just tightens it up and curls it on its own a little naturally, which makes it really easy to then create the rose shape, finished rose shape. And I'll show you guys how to do the little handle on the back and the petals as well, but I'll do that in a separate video. I just find that sometimes, for me personally, when I'm working on projects or trying to watch something, it's so frustrating to just need to know how to do one part and then have to go through a whole video and this and find it. So when it comes to stuff, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wait, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 5. When it comes to things like that, and then sometimes you just want to make a handle for something, or you just want to make the little petal for something, you don't want to have to go back and find that whole video. So we're going to go into our last space right here. So that's why I like to do things a little separately sometimes. Just, I feel like it's easier for reference as well. Okay, we have our original little loop here. We're going to keep him out of the way. 3. Well, 4. 5 and 6. So there we go. So now you're going to grab a pair of scissors, and I'm going to leave a pretty good long little tail here. I personally, when I'm going to be stitching something together, I'd rather have a little more than not enough. So now I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to yarn over and just pull that little tail all the way through there and grab one of my needles to sew this through, to stitch this through. Oh, and of course my end would be super frayed. All right. So, thread my needle. Oh, goodness. Why is this yarn being so stubborn? Work with me, people. Work with me. Oh, no, I'm going to end up cutting off half of the yarn, half the tail. It could be these scissors, too. I think they're starting to get a little dull. Okay, so let's see. Come on. There we go. So now you can see where your, I'm going to cut these little tails off from where that knot was so that it's not distracting. You can see where it wants to curl up into a rose shape. So then I think these scissors are starting to get a little dull. So you can see where it wants to curl up into the little rose shape already, right? So you just kind of play with it and let it fall where it wants to fall. So let's see. I'm going to start at the top, and I'm just going to let this, the top, I'm using the tail end as my bottom, and just kind of gently roll it around so you can see how well you guys can see. You can see where that little knob wants to kind of come up on its own right there, so just let it do that. I'm going to be very Bob Ross for a second and just be like, let it be its happy little self. Let it do its happy little self. But you see how it kind of curls onto itself? So I'm going to show you guys from the bottom as well. So we start here, because I know sometimes people are moving, and if you turn it upside down, you can see how you maybe need to fold it over just a little, just to keep it a little bit flat on the bottom is the idea. So if you're just trying to keep it flat on the bottom, you see where it just wants to circle around on itself, right? So you can make this as tight as you want to. You can spiral it up a little bit more and make it a little tighter if you want to, right? Or a little flatter. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my tail. You see my tail right here. And I'm just going to go right through the middle, all the way up to the middle, and I'm going to meet where my thumb is right there, just to give me something to hold it, just to have that center. Okay, now when you're using this yarn, because it's so knotty, it can be a little tricky to get through some of those knots, and you might fight it just a little bit, but it's you'll get there. It's not so bad. So now I'm just going to go down through the other side and come back up and get that out of the way. Okay, and you don't have to pull it super tight, just tight enough to get it started. So what I like to do is just kind of go back and forth and create a nice little, chain, and try to go around this little flap a little bit. That's just me personally. I try to go around that a little bit so that that's not flapping loose on me. But I try to keep it up through the middle in the center as much as possible. And you don't need a lot. So that's pretty secure. You can, if you want to, go through and stitch around these sides a little bit as well if you want it to be a little tighter. With this, if you're using this, like if you're using this for decoration, there's really no need to do that. And if you're using the Scrubbology yarn, it tends to be a little tighter knit anyway, but you see I really didn't go through and tighten them up too much. It really, you know, it's a little bit loose, but it works. It's okay. It's not falling apart or anything. And then you just finish your stitch. Just make your little knot in the back and secure it. And that's really it, you guys. So cute little flowers. I'll probably make a couple more for my daughter's room. So I will go ahead and get this uploaded, and then I will show you how to do some cute little petals and the green on the back. So I hope you guys like that. I know it was one of my longer videos, but I hope it makes sense why I did it that way so that you guys can really see how this works. And you can tighten it up a little bit more if you wanted to, like I said, or you can make them a little flatter or do like a flatter flower or flatter flower, whatever you want to do with these. I think they're cute. They're fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching.